only revolutionary organization that's done something here on the ground practically for African people is the one that's come under attack. Institution that offers a community radio station, a newspaper, a commercial kitchen, an Aquaba Hall rental space, and community office for our organizers. That was the building that has come under attack.
You need a breach? What do you need?
Need one.
I don't know.
What's whole bed money?
Hold on.
Thank you.
We will build a movement of white people that says hands off the Uhuru movement.
They see in the African People's Socialist Party a vanguard for the struggle for the liberation of our people. They see that because not just what we do here in the United States, but because we had the temerity to do like Garvey, to do like Malcolm X, and take the struggle of black people around the world.
This is Mama Thea Wangaza of the Malcolm X Center for Self-Determination, WMXP Community Radio in Greenville, South Carolina. I'm here to say all out for the Black is Back Coalition's 15th annual Black People's March on the White House, November 4th, Washington, D.C. We demand that the U.S. government drop the charges on Omali Yeshitela, chairman of the African People's Socialist Party, leader of the Uhuru movement. On July 29, 2022, the FBI launched pre-dawn raids on the Uhuru movement in 2 cities and on 7 properties. The FBI used assault weapons, flashbang grenades, and drones. The chairman and 2 others, known as the Uhuru 3, have been indicted by the U.S. government and face federal charges. Chairman Omali Yeshitela has said the FBI wants to put him on trial for fighting for black freedom. We say, put the colonial state on trial. We will win. An attack on the free speech of Chairman Omali Yeshitela is an attack on everybody's free speech. Saturday, November 4th, Washington, D.C. March under the banner of the Anti-Colonial Free Speech Movement. Register for the 15th annual Black People's March on the White House at blackpeoplesmarch.com. Not one step backwards. Drop the charges against the Uhuru 3. All power to the people. Uhuru.
Free the Uhuru 3. Dismiss all charges. 3 major radical figures are in the crosshairs of the U.S. government, allegedly for unregistered foreign agents of a foreign government, Russian. They are Chairman Omali Yeshitela, head of the African People's Socialist Party, headquartered in St. Petersburg, Florida, and two of his assistants, Penny Hess and Jesse Neville. The three are charged with being unregistered agents because they wrote or spoke out in defense of Russia's position in the world today. But so what? Aren't people free to speak their minds or write what they wish against U.S. government policy? Aren't they protected by the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution? When Chairman Yeshitela appeared in court in May of 2023, he did so in handcuffs and leg irons for holding an opinion. So I guess if you're a radical, the First Amendment doesn't really apply. Consider this. Shortly after Yeshitela's arraignment in irons, a U.S. Senator, former Foreign Affairs Chairman Bob Melendez, was charged with not only being an unregistered foreign agent, but of allegedly receiving thousands of dollars, a sports car, and even gold bars from several foreign governments. And guess what he wore to court? I mean, besides an expensive suit. So much for equal justice under law. And while both Yeshitela and Melendez are roughly the same age, one is a black radical and a freedom fighter. The other is a wealthy, politically connected politician. Guess who got the chains? But the First Amendment, the freedom to write or say what one wishes, to which we say, free the Uhuru Three, dismiss all the charges with love, not fear. This is Mumia Abu Jamal. These commentaries are recorded by Prison Radio.
Uhuru. Uhuru, comrades. I want to really appreciate everybody for being on tonight. I just really want to salute that opening to today's program. As we know, we are here today to make the call to continue to deepen this fight back, this anti-colonial fight back for Palestine, to stop white left opportunist attacks on the anti-colonial struggle, and to take all of our demands, all of everything that we are fighting for to the November 4th march on the White House. And I just want to take a quick moment to introduce myself. My name is Mwezi Odom, and I have the honor of serving as the chairperson of the Hands Off Uhuru, Hands Off Africa Defense Campaign, which has birthed the Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back Coalition. And all of these videos that you just saw that are calling us to November 4th, that are, uniting with the demand to drop the charges on the Uhuru Three, as well as that statement from Mumia Abu Jamal, which anyone can find openly on Prison Radio right now. We really want to salute him and say that all of these charges, all of these false indictments, everything that is happening to the people, this is the period right now when we take not one step backward and we build this anti-colonial free speech movement until we are done, and until this system is no longer a threat in the lives of oppressed and colonized people of the world. So I just want to salute and appreciate everybody who has joined us here on today. And so what you see here on the screen is a PowerPoint that I'm going to go through. But before I go any further, I just wanted to take a moment to recognize somebody who we've lost. We learned last week that Rochelle Cinque McGee is no longer with us. This was an African who spent over 60, almost 70 years in the colonial prison on some trumped up charges, was released at about 83, 84 years old, suffered mental, physical, and just all the conditions in the Angola prison in Louisiana, and then also was released here in where I am located in California, to be with their family. But this is how the system does us, right? And you see some headlines that say that he won his freedom. There is no freedom for the colonized, and to be released from a colonial prison into a system that is, that is bent on your oppression, whether you're behind enemy lines or not. There is no freedom. So we just want to just send our regards to the family, and we say, long live Ruchell McGee, and to the coalition who fought, and had support and action so that he could be released and spend time with his family, and his community. So we just wanted to take a moment to say that as well. Uhuru. So I want to take a moment to salute the leader of the African Revolution, the African struggle, the Uhuru movement, Chairman Omali Yeshitela. We say not one more political prisoner, and Chairman Omali Yeshitela will not be locked up. We say drop the charges against Chairman Omali Yeshitela, and I want to salute Omali Yeshitela, and also Deputy Chair Onezene Yeshitela, who is a leader in the African People's Socialist Party and has built these institutions that we are here to defend, because here we have built dual and contending power. So I wanted to put forth some of the leadership of this institution, because as we say, when you touch one, then you touch all of us. And so the Hands Off Uhuru Fightback Coalition, or the Hands Off Uhuru campaign, for those of you that are new, because we do see some new people on, and we want to appreciate you for being here. This campaign was birthed from the July 29, 2022 attacks on the African People's Socialist Party. 7 homes and properties were violently raided. They used flashbang grenades, military armed vehicles, assault rifles, drones in St. Louis, Missouri, and St. Petersburg, Florida. This counteroffensive labeled 4 members of the Uhuru movement as unindicted co-conspirators, and based on whatever the state was able to trump up and create, they have now named 3 indicted members of the Uhuru movement. This is Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Chairwoman Penny Hess of the African People's Solidarity Committee, and Jesse Neville, the chair of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And we are calling on people to say, as we say, we're going to put the state on trial, and we say drop the charges against the Uhuru 3, and that white people to say no to the FBI's war against Black liberation. And so we are calling on people to continue to support this campaign, because we are taking all of the struggles of the people to the end. And this is where the Fightback Coalition that was formed on July 8th is really important. And we want people to know, if you are an individual or if you are a member, we want you to join this Fightback Coalition, because we have to build an anti-colonial front that is within this coalition is made up of the colonized, right? Many organizations, over 40 organizations on July 8th, united with building this anti-colonial free speech movement. And you have organizations here that for the first time, we have succeeded in a practical way, pulling in the white left and organizations across the political spectrum to unite with the leadership of African and other colonized peoples to say that we are our own liberators, and that not one more struggle that we wage will be sacrificed for the good or for the interests of the white ruling or the ruling class altogether. And so this coalition is important. We want you to get involved, make a difference, in a practical way by joining the Hands Off Uhuru Fightback Coalition. So one of the things that we united on for this Fightback Coalition that we have been putting out there to the world is that we say all out to November 4th, the 15th annual Black People's March on the White House. We unite with this call, and this is, sponsored. Well, this is held by the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations, who has been marching on the White House for the past 14 years. This is their 15th annual march, and the Hands Off Uhuru campaign and the coalition fully unite and we're bringing all of our forces there. We're saying free Palestine. We're saying hands off Uhuru. We're saying drop the charges against the Uhuru 3, and not one step backwards, forward ever, backward never. So we are going to talk more about that, because we know many of you who are on this call are going to be there on November 4th in Washington and in our other locations. So before we go further into today's program, because we want to talk about what is happening right now in this period, because the struggle of the Palestinian people, struggle of African people and Indigenous people should not happen in isolation. We are very clear that what is happening to all of us since the inception, since the attack on Africa, is colonialism. We are existing under a colonial mode of production. And within this colonial mode of production, everything that everybody who lives on the earth today, right now, is experiencing a crisis. Well, we are experiencing a system in crisis, because since the inception of colonialism, colonized people have always fought back. And so we want to remind the people that what we are seeing and happening in the world today is an insurgency. This is when the colonized people rise up against what is, what has been a historical attack on freedom and liberation. So we stand in complete unity with the, we need to go back a few slides, but we stand in complete unity with the people of Palestine and their struggles. And we want to talk more about how it's important that as colonized people, we continue to lead and chart our own history, or our own path towards victory. Uhuru, thank you, comrade. So I want to salute the Hands Off Uhuru Fightback Coalition individuals and organizations. And you can see them here on the screen. You can go to the website handsoffuhuru.org/coalition to learn more about this really dynamic group of organizations and individuals who are uniting with building this movement for November 4th, but beyond as well. And I want to just mention one of the members of this coalition, the Sami Doon Palestinian Prisoner Network. We want to just stand in unity and denounce this statement that the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz in the Bundestag in Germany on October 12th, so just a few weeks ago, declared his intention to ban Sami Doon Network as an organization in Germany, and this was later supported by the Ministry of Interior, shortly after. But this highlights the complicity with the genocide of the Palestinian people, and why this struggle has to be about colonialism, and it must be led by the colonized. It must be at the center of our agenda. So we want to send our salute to Sami Doon for doubling down, and that we support you, and that we want everybody to come under this banner of the Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back Coalition. So none of this happens in isolation, like they tried to do on July 29th, like they try to do every single time the oppressed and colonized people try to build a life worth living. So we just wanted to make a mention of that. So go to handsoffuhuru.org/coalition for more information. And later on in today's program, we are going to announce a national or a global day of anti-colonial action. We want people around the world to rise up and to hold any type of action. It could be a teach-in, it could be a demonstration, a protest. You could table. We have done this before. We did this back in May, and we're going to do it again. And this time we say victory to Palestinian, African, Indigenous, and all colonized people. We say we are our own liberators, and we want people to, you can go now, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. Go to handsoffuhuru.org/Palestine. And there you will see information about this global day of anti-colonial action, and how you can show up that in your city, you're going to have an event or some type of action to support this anti-colonial fight back for Palestinian, African, Indigenous, all colonized people. Let's make them feel it around the world. We will also be hearing today about more information and more details coming in from the 4 locations that we have confirmed November 4th actions, as well as other areas and speakers that will be there as well. So here we are. And one of the questions that we have to ask, and I really want to just, frame this next section of of today's program, because this is in response, tonight's event, which was planned to happen anyways, but we had to address something that those of you who have been with us for the past, few weeks or days have been, learning about this attempt by Brian Becker, who is the founder of the, of the Party for Socialism and Liberation and the Answer Coalition's attempt to silence the voice of the Black People's March on Washington by calling a contending mobilization of their own on November 4th at the same time and the same place as the Black People's March on the White House. And, we understand that we are not only fighting the colonial state on the Black liberation movement, but also, yet again, here we go, the white left opportunists attempt to intervene in the ironclad unity between African and Palestinian people and all the oppressed and colonized peoples on the planet. And we refuse to be silenced by the colonial state or the colonial settlers. And we call on all colonized people and friends and supporters to unite with the Black People's March on November 4th in Washington, D.C. We want you to go to our website and read this statement, which I'm going to take us through right now, and you're going to learn a little bit more about that. So if anyone is on your computer or whatnot, you can go to handsoffforhuru.org, and under news and analysis, you will find this article that we're going to read right now. Thank you so much to our Zoom tech who's taking us through. So the question is, why is the white-led interventionist Answer Coalition trying to stand between the Black liberation movement and the Palestinian people? Hands Off Uhuru Fightback Coalition stands in unity with the 15th annual Black People's March on the White House on Saturday, November 4th, 2023, sponsored by the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations. A mobilization held annually since 2008, the Black People's March has been publicized for the better part of 2023 and is co-sponsored this year by the Hands Off Uhuru Fightback Coalition, which represents over 40 organizations that are a part of the anti-colonial free speech movement. The 2023 Black People's March is demanding that the US government drops the bogus charges against Chairman Amalia Shatella and the Uhuru Three, who face prison time in a continuation of the US government's long-standing counterinsurgency against the Black liberation movement. The Uhuru Three have been indicted following FBI raids on 7 homes and institutions of the Uhuru movement in 2 cities. On July 29, 2022, the government attacked similar to the COINTELPRO program that devastated the Black revolution of the 1960s. The Black is Back Coalition calls for victory to all colonized, indigenous, and struggling people on the planet, including the heroic Palestinian people currently on the front lines against the genocidal colonial oppression of the US-sponsored Israeli settler state. Over the years, people of every nationality, from every walk of life, have participated in the Black people's annual marches, including white people standing in solidarity with the liberation struggle for African people, colonized people inside the US borders. This year, the white-led Answer Coalition, led by Brian Becker, who is also the founder of the Party for Socialism and Liberation, or PSL, launched an unprincipled, underhanded interventionist attack by announcing an answer mobilization on the same day as the annual Black People's March, which includes, as always, solidarity with the heroic struggle of the people of Palestine. Answer members were fully aware of the 2023 Black is Back March on the White House, having been invited to participate. Instead of supporting the liberation struggle of African people colonized within the US, Becker, Answer, and PSL chose to contend with the Black movement under the cover of support for Palestinian people, thus attempting to pit the struggles of African people and the Palestinian people against each other. We must make it clear that there is no contradiction between the African and Palestinian struggles, no contradiction, which we have always been united. The contradiction is between white left opportunists and the anti-colonial struggle of African and other peoples. Indeed, Answer has never acknowledged the ongoing liberation war of poor and working class Black people colonized right here in the US on stolen land of the Indigenous people, whose internment and reservations established the template for the Israeli settler colonial state. The demands for this year's Black People's March also calls for an end to U.S. government's attack on Mexican, Navajo, and other indigenous peoples, the occupied Palestinian people, the Filipino people, African people in Haiti or Haiti, Alex Saab and the people of Venezuela, and an end to the blockade on Cuba and the demand to lift the travel bans on Cuba and the designation of Cuba as a state sponsor of terrorism. The Black People's March must stand, or the Black People's March stands in support of the Tampa Five, the Stop Cop City forces that are struggling against the building of this police training ground in Atlanta, as well as the freedom for Mumia Abu-Jamal, Leonard Peltier, and all political prisoners and prisoners of war currently held within the colonial U.S. prison system. We refuse to allow the voice of the Black liberation movement to be silenced by the U.S. government or any of its minions from the colonial white left opportunists. We refuse to allow Answer or any other opportunists to come between African people and some of our closest international allies, the colonized peoples of Palestine. Black people have pledged our unconditional support for our Palestinian brothers and sisters since the days of Malcolm X, who visited occupied Palestine shortly before he was assassinated by the US government. So we say hands off Uhuru, hands off Africa, build the anti-colonial free speech movement, forward to the Black People's March on the White House, November 4th, register at blackpeoplesmarch.com. And we want people to add your name, which we will talk more about this open letter from the Black is Back Coalition to Brian Becker of the Answer Coalition for the for the Party of Socialism and Liberation. So comrades, I just wanted to take us through that so we can have an understanding of why we have called this meeting to help, us have a better understanding and have clarity about what is happening in the world. These are not, just, pop-up things that are happening. Here we are with an opportunity to help bring clarity to what is happening. So I'm going to remind our chat moderators to please link any of those links in the chat as well, so that people can take a look at the statement. And I want to remind people that in these webinars, we are continuing to wage the legal struggle and the legal fight back against the state. And we do have a goal tonight to raise $500 for the towards the Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back Coalition. And so we want to remind people to go to handsoffuhuru.org/donate. And you can do that throughout this program. We want to thank you. But really, comrades, to help us deepen our understanding of what is happening and how we can better understand what needs to be done, because we're not just here to talk about it. It's not what we say, but it's what we do. And we are going to November 4th, and we're calling everyone to come to November 4th. And shortly, right after I'm done speaking, and we're going to bring up Chairman Omalia Shatella, who's going to, remind us of this, of this history, right? This unity of African and Palestinian people, and how this struggle is nothing new. And that we have the formula, we have the answer, right? We have the answer, as the chairman says, for how we can take this forward. So Uhuru comrades, and again, please go to handsoffuhuru.org/donate, and we're going to talk more about the day of action coming up soon. So I know the chairman is just taking a moment to get into place. So I also want to remind people, if you have any questions, to please put them in the chat on any of the platforms that we are streaming on. And if you're on Zoom, please go ahead and put that in the chat as well. So Uhuru. And comrades on the ground in St. Louis can let me know the status of chairman coming on. And and if I need to move to another section of the agenda, we can definitely do that. Uhuru.
Uhuru, comrades.
Uhuru, Chairman.
Uhuru. Yeah, I apologize for being a bit confused about where we were.
Okay.
I had some conflicting messages about what this agenda was going to look like. But I just want to express my appreciation to you, Comrade Chairwoman Nwezi, not only for the introduction, but for the incredible work that you've been doing all this time with the Hands Off Uhuru Coalition, and the work to build the Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back Coalition that occurred on July 8th of this year. I have before me the open letter to Brian Becker, of the Anti-Coalition and the Party for Socialism and Liberation, because this is a thing that we've been really concerned about. It has the potential for functioning as a kind of instrument, this action that they have called for, this contending action that's been called for by Becker, PSL, and the Answer Coalition under their leadership, is something that has the potential for splitting the struggle of colonized people against a common enemy. And as it has been said already, it reeks of history of betrayal by an opportunist sector of the white left, not only in this country, but historically Europe as well. So we have absolute solidarity with Palestinian Palestine. In fact, the African revolution in this country was probably the first expression in the United States for solidarity with Palestine. We know about Malcolm X, who was in Gaza in 1964, just a few months before he was assassinated, and working to build the unity between the Palestinian and the Arab revolution and the revolution of African people in this country. And some people have declared for a very long time that that was one of the primary reasons that Malcolm X was assassinated. That unity has been there. That was in 1964. And of course, we know that Frantz Fanon played a major role in working to unite the African revolution, not only with Palestine, but with the struggle of African people in Algeria, with the Arab militants who have been fighting against the same social system that's founded on the colonial domination of the peoples of the world. And that has initiated what we characterize as a colonial mode of production. The Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, 1967, came out immediately after the so-called 1967 war, when Israel attacked Palestine and annexed sectors of Syria and what have you. And it was SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, that came out in solidarity. And this was despite the fact that doing so meant that many of the white left and liberals inside this country took back the resources. They claimed to be in solidarity with SNCC and Black people in the United States, but they snatched those resources up, they took them back, left stranded in hostile territories like Mississippi, where SNCC organizers were being murdered, other people were being murdered, et cetera, and SNCC took a hell of a stance, but not just there, but against all of the colonial wars, all of the colonial activities that the United States government was involved in, and other neo-colonial activities that were occurring around the world. So our brand is good as the Black Revolution, and the Black is Black Coalition that was founded in 2008 was founded in part because of an unwillingness of what we've characterized as a traditional anti-war, so-called peace movement, to deal with the issues of the wars being waged against African people inside this country, against the Mexican indigenous people inside this country, against Filipino people in Philippines, against oppressed peoples all around the world. And so the coalition was founded, and it was characterized as the Black is Black Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations. It was the entree of the African liberation movement in this whole struggle for peace, but peace that would come as a consequence of bringing social justice and liberation, because every war that we've seen in the recent history has been a war revolving around the attack on colonized people. And even what we're looking at now with the US aggression against Russia, that is being waged through the people being waged through Ukraine, massacring both Russians and Ukrainians, tied to the colonial question too. Russia's intervention, as they see it in Africa, Russia's intervention in Syria, the Middle East, and other things. Russia's intervention with support and solidarity with Iran. All of these have played fundamental roles in this war that's being waged against Russia as well. So we are concerned about this thing that Becker Answer Coalition and the Party for Socialism and Liberation, as they characterize themselves, and this intervention, and for what it can mean in terms of undermining the struggle for Black people, and what it means in terms of the unwillingness of these organizations to unite with the struggle of African people. Black people march, the Black People's March on the White House, and an inability for them to do that. So we put this open letter to Brian Becker of the Answer Coalition and Party for Socialism and Liberation. We put it forward, and we're asking everybody to sign on to this. And the letter reads, for the last year, the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations has been building for the Black People's March on the White House on November 4th. This year's march is co-sponsored by the Hands Off Uhuru Fightback Coalition formed earlier this year, with over 40 organizations uniting to participate in building for the 15th annual Black People's March on the White House. This year's Black People's March has urgent political objectives, including demand for the U.S. government to drop the charges against African People's Socialist Party Chairman Omali Shettel and 2 other members of the Uhuru movement who are facing 15 years in prison on bogus federal charges of being Russian agents, for opposing the US-led Ukrainian war, for waging campaigns to demand reparations for African people, and petitioning the United Nations to charge the United States government with violation of the crime of genocide against African people. The indictments of the Uhuru 3 followed the July 29, 2022 FBI military-style raids on several homes and offices of the Uhuru movement using armored vehicles, flashbang grenades, drones, assault weapons, and handcuffing Uhuru movement leaders. To broaden the entire struggle for free speech and connect it to the struggle against colonialism, the Hands Off Uhuru Fightback Coalition consolidated more than 40 anti-imperialist organizations spanning the political and ideological spectrum to unite with the demands of the Black People's March, including an end to attacks on the Uhuru 3, Tampa 5, Stop Cop City, for release of political prisoners, including Leonard Peltier and Mumia Abu Jamal, and for the liberation of Palestine. The forming of this anti-colonial free speech coalition represents a new and historical development in the anti-imperialist movements in the United States. For the first time, white left, anti-war, and anti-imperialist organizations united to pursue common aims under the leadership of colonized peoples. It was therefore a shock to learn that the Answer Coalition had just days ago announced a contending demonstration on the same date, time, and place. However, it is a continuation of a tradition of white left opportunism to split the struggle of colonized peoples and to maintain the hegemony over our struggle for liberation that recognize the essential force for the destruction of capitalism and the emergence of a new social system. This open letter recognizes that this tradition of opportunism has historically undermined struggles by oppressed peoples and workers globally, as exposed by the same colonial stand taken by a white leftist attack on Marcus Garvey in the 1920s, and the French left's solidarity with the French colonial domination of Algeria and other African countries and Vietnam. The Black People's March, even before this most recent escalation of colonial terror and violence against the Palestinian people in Gaza, had called for the liberation of the Palestinian people as one of our central demands. The Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparation makes this explicit statement in our national Black political agenda for self-determination adopted by the coalition in 2016. We say, quote, "Free Palestine, down with Israeli apartheid. We demand recognition of all rights of the Palestinian people, including the right to an independent, sovereign Palestinian state and the right to return for all Palestinian refugees. The U.S. must immediately end all monetary aid, trade relationships, and military cooperation with the apartheid Zionist state of Israel until that uniquely barbaric affront to human civilization is dismantled and abolished," unquote. It was therefore duplicitous on the part of the Answer Coalition under the pretense They are doing this to help Palestinians to attempt to drive a wedge and create an artificial contradiction between the Palestinian struggle and the African liberation movement. Despite all efforts that have been made to unite the entire anti-colonial struggle with the Black People's March, including invitations repeatedly sent to some of the leaders of ANSA, we heard nothing from them. The only response we heard from ANSA about the Black People's March was their announcement of this contending demonstration on November 4th. We remain committed to the historical unity between the struggles of Palestinians and Africans in the fight against colonialism and call for Palestinian participation in the Black People's March, which for the past 15 years has called for liberation of the Palestinian people. We call on Brian, Becker, and ANSA to unite with the 15th annual Black People's March on the White House, November 4th, led by Black is Back Coalition, and to use their resources toward building it. A main focus of the Black People's March this year is the demand for an end to the slaughter of the Palestinian people and the liberation of Palestine from the clutches of the Zionist colonial settler state. Signed, Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations, the Hands Off Uhuru Fightback Coalition, and you should also add your name to this letter. So thank you very much, Uhuru comrades.
Uhuru, Chairman, thank you so much. And I just want to just really appreciate and unite with this open letter. And I do want to also just say a few things just to kind of, and Chairman, feel free to add anything, if you find it necessary. But I just want to acknowledge that this past weekend, the Days of Reparations to African people on the ground in St. Louis collected dozens of signatures already for this open letter on paper. And just wanted to remind everybody that those of you who did sign on paper, your signatures will be counted on this form as well. And, one other thing in terms of, moving from this letter, we also learned that earlier tonight, that PSL and the Answer chapter in St. Petersburg, Florida now has also followed the lead of the national leadership, announcing a Palestinian or a Palestine rally in St. Petersburg, Florida, the same evening, this Thursday, as the major previously scheduled Uhuru event in the same city for the Days of Reparation to African people, where Chairman Amalia Shatella and others, will be speaking at the Uhuru House, which was one of the buildings that was attacked on July 29th. And again, this overall theme of no to the FBI war on Black liberation struggle. And again, this further just, exposes the blatant white left interventionist and opportunism of Becker and the organization and its state-like attacks to undermine this campaign that is calling on the freedom and liberation for all colonized people and oppose all U.S. government's efforts to imprison Chairman Amalia Shatella, the Uhuru Three, and all colonized people. So I just wanted to mention that, Chairman, for whatever reason, it's important that we see these not as this is opportunism. Yeah, Uhuru.
Yeah, I thank you for that because it's really concerning and disconcerting in so many ways. The fact of the matter is that neither Brian Becker nor PSL nor ANSA will be going to Palestine to join the struggle there. They're not going to participate in that fight back against the Israeli state. And virtually every revolutionary that we've ever met any place in the world, when we were engaged in struggle and solidarity and support, and we say, what can we do here? They all say, make the revolution where you are. And the fact is that it has been well known that the most militant, the most consistent revolutionary force in this country has been Black people, African people struggling for independence. We're not struggling to have the best or the biggest anti-war organization. This march on November 4th by the Black is Back Coalition is a part of the struggle for Black liberation. It's an anti-colonial mobilization. The Palestinians are fighting against this Zionist white nationalist settler state for liberation. They're not trying to have the biggest anti-war organization. They're fighting for liberation. And this is the thing that has united Africans and Palestinians historically. The fact that we've both been engaged in the struggle for liberation, and both of us, the Palestinians and the African Revolution, have suffered military assaults and sometimes setbacks of very serious setbacks, and our revolutionary movements have been quieted down. But we've understood that revolution was the objective. We had to overturn colonialism. And that's what the Black is Black Coalition is on this mission. So many of we're in this position today because people like Malcolm was assassinated. And there's no doubt in our minds that part of the reasons for his assassination was what people like to refer to his internationalizing the struggle here. He went to Gaza. He went to various other places to build this revolutionary movement. We had situations where in 1968 alone, something like 30 members of the Black Panther Party were murdered throughout this country, the United States, by the United States government. And others of them were imprisoned. Massive incarceration of Black people, 500% increase in incarceration of African people happened in this country at the height of the struggle that we were waging against for liberation, not to get the biggest or best anti-war organization, for liberation. And the problem that we've had historically is the inability of the white left to unite with the struggle for Black liberation. And they've always hedged their bet. They've always come up with a reason why they couldn't do it. They've always had some kind of theoretical premise that prevented them from being able to do that. And it's an anti-Black stance. That's what we see with PSL and ANSWER. It's an anti-Black stance. There's no other way you can get around it. They don't unite with the struggle for African liberation. Like many others, they unite with the idea of a pitiful Black population that is trying to integrate into the colonial capitalist social system, but not one that's trying to break free from it. And there have always been these two tendencies in the struggle of our people. One, of trying to find some kind of solution within the system, making the plantation a more bearable place to live on. And the others that understood that the plantation and plantation life, slavery, colonialism has to go, and that we have to remove ourselves from that. And the question before not just the African liberation movement and anti-colonial people, but the question for settlers and colonizers who are white people is whether or not you can unite with the right of African people to be totally free from this social system, or whether, like France at a particular time, you or the white left in France at a particular time see African people as inherently connected to this system of oppression that came into existence in part because of a war that was initiated against Africa and Black people and the indigenous people on this land. The truth of the matter is that there are going to be explosions of repression from time to time. We see it all over, all the time. Today is the brutal, egregious, the horrific genocidal assault that's being made on Palestine, and it must stop, and we must protest against it. But the fact of the matter is, today, that's what's on the headlines. The thing we got Nigeria, we got Mali, we've got Venezuela, we got all these other countries, and most of the places that I'm talking about support the struggle for Palestine. But the problem is that every instance we're going to look up and we're going to see next week there's going to be another attack on colonized people that's grotesque. The next week another attack on colonized people that's grotesque. And then they use the attack on Black people in this country. They use the attack on the indigenous people in this country, where they have children in cages at the southern border of this country. That's an urgent matter. They use these attacks on free speech, targeting us and to win a broad unity with the attack on the rights of everybody. And the fact that it's the colonial question that's the central question. And so here we have another situation where, like the 60s, the Russians become the boogeyman. At this time, it was communism and the Russians, and then Black people in the 60s, the boogeyman. This is what they use, and they use this as a means of winning white people to unite with an assault on democratic rights, on free speech and things like that. If you're really interested in fighting to protect free speech, then you've got to not only protect the rights of the colonized, but join with the colonized and overturn this relationship we have with colonialism. That's the call that's been made with Becca. And they know what it is they're doing. This is no accident. They come to St. Petersburg, Florida, the same place where the attack was made on the Uhuru House on July 29, 2022. The second city, the second state, they hold an event there on the same day that we've been promoting and building for a hands-off, drop the charges, free the Uhuru 3 movement or a rally that's scheduled for Thursday. And they schedule a rally to support the Palestinians on the same day. And this is no coincidence. This is an attack on the Black Revolution. And just like the United States would use Russia as the basis of attacking the rights of free speech and Black people's struggle, then here you have answer hiding behind Palestine. And we use Palestine and say we're fighting for Palestine to undermine the struggle of Black people in this country. We can't do that. We can't have that. You should sign this letter, and we should do everything we can to build this November 4th mobilization to support the Black liberation movement, support it, and support the struggle of other people who are suffering from U.S. colonialism here and around the world. So that's the point that we will make, Comrade Sister Mwezi. Thank you so much. Uhuru.
Uhuru, Chairman, I just really want to appreciate that analysis. And, we're kind of moving into the question and answer section. So there is some questions that have come on or that have come in. But I did want to just, really unite, Chairman, what you were saying about this inability and just open refusal to unite with the Black liberation struggle and this anti-Black, which is, anti-Black power, right? And doesn't want, the colonized people to break free from the system. And I mean, you think of any type of abusive relationship, your abuser is going to find a way to twist it and to, act as though they support you. But here we have colonized people and African people, all colonized people who want to break free from this oppressive relationship that we have with this colonial mode of production. And here we are in a moment where we have to, really, as it said somewhere in the chat, make the revolution where you are, break free where you are. And, this is what self-determination, which as the chairman has shared, that the highest expression of democracy is self-determination. And so really want to just unite with that analysis, Chairman, and invite people, yes, go and sign on. And one of the questions in the chat that I'll just take briefly, Chairman, is by Carlito Rovira. And he says, or they say rather, the white quote unquote left is not homogenous. Are there any groups of that realm that have expressed disapproval for Brian Becker Answers action? And I want to state that this is coming from the Black is Back Coalition, which is a coalition of over 18 organizations. So we can start there in terms of the support from the Black community. But Chairman, I wanted to just open that question up.
We tried to be clear that we talk about white left opportunists and white left opportunism. And it is white left opportunists that essentially we're talking about. We deal with white Black opportunists in our communities all the time. I mean, we see them all the time, and sometimes white left opportunists vote for them and for president and support them in other kinds of ways. So we're not, and we denounce them, the African these collaborators with our oppressors and the opportunists. But here we've had an array of folk. I mean, I'm happy to say that UNAC, for example, the United National Anti-War Coalition that promotes itself as the largest anti-war coalition in this country, has united with November 4th, explicitly united with November 4th. And it is essentially a white-led formation, but it has come down. We have workers. We've had things, the Socialist Workers Party, I think Workers' World Party, and many of those folks, they've come down and united with us. So there is an array of white organizations and white-led organizations that's united with the November 4th. And that's the profound statement that you make. You make the statement that we're going to march with the Black people, the Black People's March in the White House. This is the 15th annual. It's not just something that just started. And we've asked for this support by the anti-war peace movement since the inception, since we first began. And many white leftists couldn't march with us because the first one happened on November 4th, or around that time of 2009, and where Obama had just gone into office, I should say. And they wouldn't unite because they didn't want to unite against Obama. And what we did, we called on people to unite with us, and we have never got the kind of support that we needed, not for 15 years, not for the 15 years. And the only thing that distinguished itself was been the African People's Solidarity Committee, the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, and to a lesser extent, UNAC. At least UNAC forces would come out occasionally to things that we were done, but we've never got support, generally speaking. So now what we see, we think that some people heard the message. They saw the significance of this attack that was made on the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru movement. They recognize and support the pushback against the prison sentences that they're trying to impose on us to crush the liberation movement, to silence us. They see that how that relates to the struggles of all the people in free speech for everybody, and they've got on board, so we're down with this. We support Black people's struggle here against colonialism. We support the struggle of other peoples against colonialism, and they've done that. So just to repeat, Carlito, was it Carlito?
It's Carlito.
Carlito, yeah. It's not, it has been the total, it's been the opportunist that we are talking about. It's been the opportunist, Uhuru.
Uhuru, Chairman, and I, if I'm correct, Comrade Carlito is with the Young Lords, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Comrade. So I want to appreciate you for being here and for asking that question, because it is really important for us to be able to distinguish, you know, what that means, because opportunism exists amongst the colonized as well, and we want to make that very clear. And we have, you know, this coalition, the Hands Off Uhuru Fightback coalition, which is an example of, you know, and the example of the African People's Solidarity Committee and this, you know, abandonment of the interests that don't serve the working class. And Chairman, I wanted to just read one comment that was in the chat. This is from Elizabeth Lee, who was tuning in with us today on Zoom. And Elizabeth says, powerful, powerful. I appreciate all the connection of the dots of oppression globally, nationally, and locally, and see the big picture, the big oppression and the end of colonialism. I appreciate this so much because I understand a reality once I can follow the dots to the reality. And yeah, just wanted to say that because, you know, once the dots click, you can't unsee it, right? It's a gift and the curse, but we can, you know, make it a reality worth living, and make it a dream if we can. I just wanted to acknowledge some of those in the chat, organizations who have united with signing on to this open letter. The St. Louis Green Party, Chairman, you mentioned UNAC, also the Lynn Stewart organization, Ralph Pointer, as well as a new abolitionist movement with Sister Betty Davis. So I wanted to also appreciate those comrades for letting us know right now, you know, again, that we have your support. Yes, a young Lord veteran is what Chris Duran says. So Uhuru, comrade. Thank you so much for being on tonight. So if there's not any more questions, and chat moderators will continue to let me know and put things in the document, but I think that we are.
May I say this just in terms of this critical question that we're looking at around Palestine? Because I do think it's a critical question, but the issue of this illegitimate white nationalist state of Israel has been something that's been used to beat up on the colonized peoples of the world. Because Israel, the very existence of the state of Israel, is an expression of the highest state of opportunism. Just like neocolonialism in the African community, African world is a high expression of opportunism. It's selling out the long-term interests of the oppressed for some apparent short-term and some advantage you can get in the short term. And Israel, which is something that was founded ostensibly to deal with the genocide that was committed against Jews in Europe. The fact is, the same social system born of colonialism is colonialism. I mean, if you go back even to, I think, 1904, you see Germany, the same Germany that killed the Jews, were killing Black people in Southwest Africa, now known as Namibia. And you have the same system that it was inspired a sector, a bourgeois sector of the Jewish population to do just like all of the other colonizers. You go back, you can find Cecil Rhodes makes this famous statement in England that if we are to be successful, he's saying that we have to become imperialists. He said, look, and people are fighting for bread, bread, bread. This is quoted by Lenin in his piece on imperialism. And he said that if we are going to prevent blood in the streets, et cetera, we must become imperialists. We must have a place where we can send excess population, et cetera, to other places around the world. This was what he acknowledged before kicking off this whole attack on Southern Africa. And you got a sector of the European population who now decides that they are going to fight to take land and ostensibly to help Jews who suffered from genocide, what now has been characterized as genocide. But they didn't attack Germany that committed genocide and said, let's take some land here. They attacked colonized people that were already being oppressed and exploited by the colonizers. They joined in with the oppressor, ostensibly for freedom, et cetera, when they were taking freedom from other people. And they have acted and do act in the same way the Nazis acted against the Jews. And so, you know, here you have the Jews being you have the Nazis being this master race, and then this obscenity about the Jews being how is it characterized as this not special people, but something to that effect. And it's the same ideological foundation against colonized people, that we are the best people, the better people. And again, they didn't go to Germany. If they felt like they would do a national homeland to protect Jews from the kind of thing that has been done to them in Germany, why not go to Berlin? Why not claim Frankfurt? Instead, they claimed Uganda at one time. They was looking at some other place in Africa at one time, and they ended up taking the land of the Palestinian people. And we got to act like we don't know that happened. It did happen. And it is a high expression of opportunism that we're dealing with here. So we hate opportunism because it works against the interests of the people, no matter how noble it is clothed. It is something that works to support imperialism and oppression. So I just want to say that this question of opportunism is not a small thing, it's a big thing, Uhuru. And it's anti-Black. And Black people, how can a white person in America walk over all of this history of murder and brutality of the Indigenous people and Black people in this country to somehow find oppression, you know, like in Palestine, that demands the urgency at the expense of the struggles of other people? We're not going to do that. We're going to reunite with Palestinians, reunite with the oppressed peoples of the world. We're going to make this revolution together, and we're going to take charge of our own affairs. We have agency. And that's the point that we want to make with Becker and the white nationalist party of socialism and liberation, Uhuru.
Uhuru, right on. I want to really salute you, Chairman, for deepening that, because and you know, this meeting was characterized as an emergency meeting, and that's not, you know, this is serious, because this is such an important period for us to have this type of clarity, because, you know, coming up against institutions and organizations like Answer, which have, you know, all these resources at their disposal to be able to shift how the people move, how the people understand what is happening. This is a real, you know, this is another front or another form of how the counterinsurgency operates. And so it is important that right now in this period, we understand that this struggle, you know, that the Palestinian people are facing is the struggle against colonialism, and that we can help build, you know, and stand in support of the of colonized people, of the people of Palestine, and that we all come under the banner of the anti-colonial free speech movement, of the anti-colonial struggle. And so this is not to be taken lightly. And I just really want to appreciate the questions that are coming in, because I think they really help us to sharpen how we take on this struggle. And I just want to address one more question that's in the chat. And I know we are.
To do this is to open up new fronts everywhere.
Yes, Chairman.
Open up new fronts. The Palestinians should not have to stand alone.
Yes.
Open up new fronts, 2, 3, many Palestines. That's what has to occur. And to act like they're helping Palestine by isolating it from the struggles of other colonized people, especially Africans in this country, is just the crime that's being committed against the Palestinian people, even as they commit this crime against African people and other colonized folk. So go ahead, Comrade Moise. I just wanted to make that point.
No, that's important, Chairman. And, it should not happen in isolation. And that's what this what this march is about, this Black People's March on the White House, and the demands that we are taking to this year's march. So, one of the questions in the chat, Chairman, and this is for all, Max Reed says that ASU is holding an info session on campus in Fredericksburg for November 4th. And what can we further do on campuses to raise awareness? I want to say that we also have, which you can find on the Burning Spear, and I'll make sure that we can get this linked into the chat, a teach-in that the Hands Off Uhuru Fightback Coalition did recently on October 14th, Free Palestine teach-in. I think these are the types of spaces that we want to open up these fronts on these campuses as well, to be able to inform the people about what's happening. But if this is happening on November 4th, we hope that you also will be on the ground at the Black is Back 15th annual march on the White House. So I did want to just say that, and thank you for that question, Max.
Was this, Max, is this in Fredericks, Maryland?
Max, you can let me know. I think that's where, it says Max is in DC.
Yeah, okay.
Or wasn't, no.
Not Frederick.
You can correct me, Max. Yeah, Fredericksburg, Virginia, Chairman, yes.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you, Uhuru.
Thank you.
You can join with us, and definitely, even if you can't be there, you can turn the event that you're doing, you can make it as much as you can. An event and support solidarity, extend the Hands Off Uhuru March to where you are in Fredericksburg, Missouri, with the AU event, and then organize teach-ins and things like that, and bring people from the Hands Off Uhuru, the Black is Back Coalition, to your campus, so that we can deepen this thing. Again, the objective has to be open up new fronts everywhere, not to allow the U.S. to isolate the struggles for national liberation of Africans and other people, and what have you, and to put us in this silo where nobody knows what the hell is going on, that they can put us in Facebook jail and things like that. Open it up, bring us there, bring other people there, take this struggle, take all of the documents and all of the flyers and information, the brochures, et cetera, to that AU conference that you're talking about. Uhuru,
Chairman, that's great, and thank you, Max, as well for your feedback. And I'm just going to read a few more comments before we move on, because we are going to get out of here on time tonight. That is going to happen, and I want to just use this opportunity to really appreciate those who are writing in the chat. So this one is just the last thing from Mike Reeves, which I think the chairman has already summed up, but I do think that your statement is helpful. It says, I was in DC Saturday at the big march in solidarity with Gaza, circulating the LaRouche organization's call for a ceasefire and imposing UN resolution 242 to be supported by Oasis Plan for Economic Development. So it says here, white middle America was pretty much absent from the march, except for a small number of peace activists. It was overwhelmingly people with roots in the region, and I don't think Americans understand this thing can turn into a world war. And so this is why this discussion that we're having is so important, to be able to, make it clear.
If I may.
Yes, Chairman.
This is one of the contradictions we are talking about. Comrade Max talks about this thing could become a world war. And we've heard that this thing about the Cold War, that's a new Cold War. But the fact is, there never has been a Cold War. And they characterize the Cold War because the main protagonists in this struggle that they identified have been Russians and America. And so, but who was dying? People were dying. It was a hot war in Congo. It was a hot war in Cuba. It was a hot war all over Africa and various other places around the world that people have excused as saying they're fighting this Cold War when a real war was happening on the ground. And people concerned about a new world war, world war has been occurring. World war has been occurring, except it hasn't been recognized as world war because it's the colonized, because it's Palestinians who are dying. All over the world, we got Palestinians dying. At the same time, we got Cubans dying. We got Africans in Africa, Africans in this country. You got Filipinos dying. Tell me that's not the world that we're looking at. All over the Middle East, people dying, but it's not a world war because the primary protagonists that they identified as being the real people, et cetera, are white. And the rest of us are colonized. We are facing war every day. That's what we're telling Becca and the PSL. Join in the struggle against this war. Open up a new front against this oppressor so they can't fight everywhere at the same time. Join the struggle for Black power. Join the struggle to oppose what they're doing to the indigenous people here, either in the concentration camp that they call Indian reservations, where people have a lifespan of the average of something like 47 years old, or whether that's at the southern border with indigenous people, they got children in cages, or where they got children in cages, what they call the prisons, et cetera, et cetera. People are dying every day. It ain't no Cold War, it's hot war. And the colonized are the ones who are paying the price. And that's why we're marching on November 4th, an anti-colonial mobilization. We're asking Becca and the rest of them to join with this hot war, get on the side of the colonized. That's what you have to do to overturn the social system and stop pretending and using and misusing the Palestinian people who may not know you, but we know you. We know you. And who may not know us, except in terms of history. So that's a point that I would make. Uhuru.
Uhuru, Chairman. There was some applause emojis, and I think that just there's a lot of unity in the chat, Chairman, for that distinction about the hot war that has been being waged for the past some 600 years on people. And so I just really want to, for the sake of time, we won't be able to take all the questions and comments. I do want to just salute, and again, thank you, Max Reed, who is a member of the Hands Off Uhuru Fightback Coalition, the American Student Union. And just wanted to say, Max Reed says here, Uhuru, I have signed the letter and I pledged $25 towards tonight's discussion. Unfortunately, I will not be able to stay, but I wanted to express for the duration, but I express my unconditional support for the Palestinian liberation struggle against the Zionist settler colonial state of Israel that is committed to Palestine's genocidal oppression, theft, and land of resources. Hands off the Uhuru 3, hands off Palestine, hands off all colonized and oppressed peoples of the world that refuse to be silenced. And I think that is a really powerful statement. Thank you, King L, that just, take us through that really powerful question and answer. And I hope we continue to, do this more. Just really want to appreciate your contributions, Chairman, to this struggle and also tonight. Uhuru. And I'm actually going to bring up another leader in this fight back who is fighting the war of ideas, the war against the propaganda that seeks to confuse the people into how to fight back. And I'm gonna, we're gonna hear shortly from Director Akile Enai, who leads the information, education, and technology front of the Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back. And this is a committee of volunteers who are, on social media, who are, writing press releases, who are helping to make clips of videos, doing a lot of really important work for the Hands Off Uhuru Fight Back. And Director Akile Enai is leading this fight back. So she will be on shortly to talk to us about how we are going to, make more with this open letter and to make sure that this gets out far and wide. So, and I want to salute her looking fabulous and about to bring it to the people. So Uhuru, Director Akile, thank you for joining us, Uhuru.
Uhuru Chair Mwezi, and Uhuru, just salute my leadership, Chairman Amalia Shatella, and this incredible meeting, and just to say that the profound unity that's been expressed with the call and this open letter, and just it shows this whole different period, that we're in our struggle. And the fact that Chairman, just said, we know who you are, and history has already revealed who these forces are at play. And, so we don't no longer have to be confused, by this process. So Just want to really salute, this meeting and, say all out to November 4th to the Black People's March on the White House. And I'll be brief, but I wanted to just announce another way that, we're going to be participating in this fight back against white left opportunists, but also to continue promoting the Black People's March on the White House, because we have a situation where, you have this what's called like mainstream media that has done nothing, is doing nothing, and won't do anything because it is a tool of the colonial state. It works, hand in glove with the colonial state, and it will not talk about this precedent-setting case, the fact that literally freedom of speech is on the line with the attacks being made on Chairman Amalia Shatella and the Uhuru Three. And, this huge mobilization that is raising up these critical questions that we've talked about and defining the whole, defining the whole primary contradiction as colonialism, and is bringing all of these forces for the first time in history of this country. This is happening. And, there is nobody that's going to talk about it except us. And we have to fight all of the information encirclement, that they, have access to, including, these wealthy white left opportunists, who have certain relationships and control over our information distribution. And so that's why we even have to have teach-ins and meetings like this, to be able to bring people, into and explain, what is happening, and to be able to provide a proper analysis so we can come to a conclusion that actually transforms conditions, that actually changes the world. So one of the things that we're announcing, we'll be launching on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, is a social media storm. And a social media storm is a concentrated period of time where, we flood the comment sections and, of different social media platforms like Instagram, Twitter, or what's now known as X, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, all of these different platforms where we can, have access to. And we're going to be putting out this open letter that's calling out Brian Becker and the Answer Coalition and PSL, but it's also driving for people to come to the real march, which is the Black People's March on the White House. So we're using this as an opportunity to bust this whole thing up, and also to continue promotions of this incredibly historic mobilization. So all of the information is going to be up on the Hands Off Uhuru website on Tuesday evening. So keep your eyes out for that. But what the information will include is all of the instructions for how to participate in the social media storm, what platforms to go to, templates for comments, graphics, links, necessary links, and all of the materials that you'll need to be armed to go into this social media storm. So, and there's also going to be video tutorials on how to do these things if you're unfamiliar with how to navigate these platforms. So all of that, again, is going to be available on the Hands Off Uhuru website on Tuesday evening. The storm is going to take place for an hour period of time. Again, we want to concentrate all of our energy during that hour, because what it does is it just, all that concentration, all that time, it really just drives up, the momentum and the visibility of what it is that we're going to be putting out. So starting at 2 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, we'll be engaged in a social media flood, putting out the Black People's March on the White House, and challenging these white opportunists, these interventionists, who are trying to derail this process, who are trying to take us in a totally different direction. We say we're not going back, and they want to take us back to this period, where we, like African and colonized people, are not able to define our own course and to define our own struggle. But we've already done that for ourselves. Chairman Amalia Shatella, African internationalism has already allowed us to do that. We're not going back to a period, where we were not, that the colonizer was able to define everything for the entire world, regardless of where they sit on the political spectrum. So again, 2 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. Let us know in the chat if you are going to be participating in the social media storm, and look out for handsoffahuru.org website for all the necessary information, so we can, hit Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, all these different platforms, and flood it with information about the Black People's March on the White House. So all out to November 4th, and drop the charges against the Uhuru Three, forward ever, backwards never. And just want to say again, Uhuru, salute our leadership, Chairman Amalia Shatella, and this historic anti-colonial fight back, and all of you comrades who are participating in changing history. We are right now changing, the course of history. And that's what must be understood, the significance of our role, in this period of time. We're not just bystanders. We're not just allowing, sitting on the sidelines. We're participating in this process. So very exciting, incredible period. And it's going to be an amazing mobilization, a turning point in history. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Wow, thank you, Director Akile. And that's, just a reminder again, Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, you'll be hearing more, but this is when we will announce or happen this social media storm. And those of you who were part of the last storm that we did back earlier this year against the sanctions that from Regents Bank, I know we had a great time. Just it was a lot of fun to just, to unite against the colonizer and the colonial state in all of its forms and attacks on the people. So get ready. In order to do that, it's important that you also follow the Hands Off Uhuru platform. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. So we can put that information in the chat for you, or most of them are just the @ and Hands Off Uhuru, all one word. That's how you can follow us, so you can keep up to date with that as well. So we are announcing, and part of this social media storm that we want people to mobilize the world for is the global day of anti-colonial action. This again was announced at the beginning of our meeting, where we say victory to Palestinian, African, Indigenous, and colonized peoples. And again, we are our own liberators, and we are organizing this event, this day of action, to call on everybody to organize an event in your city. We're going to walk you through in just a moment how to submit your event and provide information about the event that you want to hold in your city or in your location. But again, we want to just unite with the long-standing support of the African liberation struggle, and to reaffirm our unconditional long-standing solidarity with the unity and the victory of Palestinian people in their liberation struggle, African, Indigenous, and all colonized peoples. And you see here in the chat, those of you who hear on Zoom, Benjamin Prado, who is with the Unión del Barrio, speaks of, millions die every year as a result of colonialism, hundreds on the border, this so-called, this colonial border that separates Mexican and Indigenous people from their own land. And again, as Lisa Davis, the vice chair of Black is Back, has put in the chat, this is what they are doing to Haiti, in Africa, et cetera, and the course of this, southern border to what they call, quote unquote, Latin America. And so this is a global day of actions for us to bust through these borders and bust through all of these things that try to separate us from each other and from building the revolution where we are. So let's build these various fronts on October 29th. That's this Sunday. So we're going to walk you through on the website. When you go to handsoffuhuru.org/Palestine, and if you go to the homepage, you'll see it right there. You can log in. And so right there, it's right there at the front and center on the menu. You can see it there, October 29, Global Day of Anti-Colonial Action. So our Zoom tech is going to kind of just, scroll us through about what you can find on this page. Pretty soon on the right-hand side, you will see some of our outreach materials, placards, and other things that you can take for your mobilization. Those are being updated right now, but will be up very soon. And we want people to know how to submit your event. So wherever you're located, you can click where it says fill out this form, or you can click that button that says submit your event. Once you click that, it will take you to a form. And on this form, we are asking everybody, you'll just scroll down a little bit and you'll put your name, your email, phone number, sponsoring organization, or if you're an individual, you can write individual, the type of action that you want to hold. Do you want a table? Are you going to do a demonstration, a teach-in, and the location? We want this to be there so that other people can know exactly where to find your location if they're in your city or in your region. And put as much information as you can. We have done this before in the past. This has been very helpful for those who want to join a mobilization in their area. Put the date and time and how we can find you. And we also want to remind people to take photos, take as many photos and videos as you can, so we can have those posted and put up around the world. We want to show, we want to let Palestine, African, Indigenous, all peoples know that the world is with you and that we are with you in this anti-colonial front. And this front is taking place all over the world. So I just want to really let people know about that. If you have any questions, We will make sure that you are, if you are on our mailing list, you will get more information about this march or this day of action as well. So thank you, comrades, for that. Now, we are going to move into our last section for tonight. And what we are going to do is just, and Chairman, and if there's anything you wanted to say before we are closing out, thank you, Caesar, who has signed the letter. I do want to just say, Chairman, that the list is growing in terms of those who are signing this letter, and we're going to bring it to them with the social media storm as well. So thank you, Cesar Sanchez, who has signed the letter as well. And the chairman put something in the chat here that says, yes, Chairman, can I just read that comment that you put? Yeah. So November 4th, we should see flags from Mexico, African nation, Palestine, Venezuela, Cuba, Puerto Rico, etc. And the Black is Back and the Hands Off Who Fightback Coalition and the Anti-Colonial Free Speech Movement. So bring your flags. That's really important that we represent everyone and that we see it, you know, on that day. So thank you, Chairman. Uhuru. Uhuru Mike Reeves signed. Right on, comrades. So go ahead and sign that letter. I'm going to invite up some of the comrades who are helping to build the November 4th mobilization everywhere. But before we do, I'm just going to just pull up a quick slideshow here that just shows everybody where the Black People's March is taking place. We are taking place in Washington, D.C., which is the center of the 15th annual Black People's March on the White House. But this year, we will also be holding mobilizations, bi-coastal mobilization in Los Angeles, California, as well as London, and also in Pretoria, which is in South Africa, or occupied Azania. And later on, you will also learn about how to get on the bus and make all of that happen. So we have comrades Akinge, who is going to join us, as well as Matsamela, who is helping to lead the LA region. And I will do a brief report for London. And then we also have a video from our comrades in occupied Azania, as it's kind of late where they are right now. So, Akinge, you let me know when you're ready, but, and if you need me to take us through just the first part, I'm more than happy to do that for the DC, because there is kind of like a 3-day process. If you're coming to Washington, DC, you want to make sure that if you're coming for all 3 days, you want to know what's happening on the Friday, what's happening on Saturday, and then the convention or the conference on the Sunday. So I'm gonna, just for the sake of time, just also direct people to the blackpeoplesmarch.com. And when you go to the
Comrade, I hear you.
Okay, great.
I couldn't start my audio or video, but
No problem.
I'm here now.
Great. And we're just going right into the PowerPoint slides. That's great. And the blackpeoplesmarch.com is where you will find a lot of this information as well, but we're going to just show it on the slide so you can kind of get it all in one place. So take it away, Akinge. Thank you, comrade.
Absolutely. So on Friday, which is the 3rd of November, prior to the conference, there's going to be a press conference. The press conference will be at noon at the Sankofa Bookstore, which is located at 2714 Georgia Avenue Northwest. That's a press conference at noon at Sankofa Bookstore, 2714 Georgia Avenue Northwest. Everyone is welcome, and certainly share this information with everyone that you know and plan on being there. On Friday evening at 6:30 p.m. at the Thurgood Marshall Center, which is located at 1816 12th Street Northwest in Washington, D.C., will be the pre-rally. We want you to come out, join in making placards and signs and banners that we'll be carrying on November 4th, where we'll have speakers such as Chairman Amalia Shatella, Zaki Barudi with the Universal African Peoples Organization, Yesterday Owen Mila with the African National Women's Organization, based in Washington, D.C., and others. So please come out Friday evening, 6:30 p.m., Thurgood Marshall Center, 1816 12th Street Northwest. And if you go to the blackpeoplesmarch.com and register so that we know what days you're coming. We want to know that you're going to be there. Uhuru. And of course, we've got the conference on Sunday. I'm sorry, actually, I'm skipping the rally, which is on Saturday at Malcolm X Park, which is also known as Meridian Hill Park, if you're trying to Google it to get directions. The rally will begin. We're asking everyone to begin assembling at the park at 11. The program will kick off at 11:30, where we'll have just numerous amounts of speakers. We'll have culture. After the rally at Malcolm X Park, we're going to march, and we will have another rally in Lafayette Park. Uhuru. And the conference is going to be held on Sunday, and tomorrow you will receive the information on the location for the conference, which will begin at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which will be a hybrid conference as well, so you'll be able to join us via Zoom also. So it's an entire weekend of the Black People's March on the White House, the 15th annual Black is Back Coalition's Black People March on the White House. Uhuru.
Uhuru, thank you, Comrade Akinge, for that update about the DC action. And I'm gonna just switch seats. We have Matsamela, who is coming on right now. He is helping to organize the LA mobilization. So we're gonna do a quick musical chairs, and we're gonna learn about what's happening in Los Angeles. So Uhuru, comrades, Uhuru.
Uhuru. Uhuru, everybody. Can y'all hear me?
Uhuru.
Uhuru. So yeah, I'm Matsamela Odom, the international president of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, excited to speak on the mobilization that we're holding in South Los Angeles. On Saturday, November 4th in South Los Angeles, beginning at 11 a.m., we have dozens of organizations and hundreds of people who are committed to participating in the West Coast mobilization. This is a mobilization that I'm excited about and excited to be a part of and to be organizing this West Coast regional action. As I noted, it's a mobilization that brings together, just like the one on the East Coast, members of the Hands Off Uhuru Fightback Coalition, Black is Back coalition organizations, as well as dozens of other organizations that have united with us. It will be taking place in the community commonly known as Leimert Park, but for the African community is known as Africa Town. We're going to begin at the intersection of Crenshaw Boulevard and Martin Luther King Boulevard, and we'll be marching to our rally in the plaza, the central plaza of Africa Town, which is located on the intersection of 43rd Place and Leimert Park Boulevard. The next day, we will be organizing a Black People's Conference and viewing party in South Los Angeles. Please stay up on the changes, because the location for this Sunday conference and viewing party will be posted on the blackpeoplesmarch.com. So once again, Matsamela Odom. For more information, you can email us directly at west@apspuhuru.org. You can go to the blackpeoplesmarch.com, as well as Hands Off Uhuru, where you can register for the event. So Uhuru, everybody, on towards November 4th. Hands off Uhuru, hands off Africa. Uhuru.
Uhuru, thank you, President Matsamela. report. And again, we want to just remind people that wherever you are, you're going to be participating in this fight back. And I just wanted to announce just some brief details about the London action, because that is also happening. And I wanted to acknowledge, as you can there in the top corner, Luwezi Kinshasa, who is the coordinating the Europe front of the Hands Off Uhuru fight back. And we have people coming from all over Europe, Africans, and all people coming through from Germany. We have members and supporters with UNAC, who will also be there, the free, taking on the questions of free speech, housing, and all the other crises and contradictions that colonized people are faced with in that area. So there will be a rally at the U.S. Embassy, 33-9 Elms Lane. You can find this information also at Black is Back Coalition or at the blackpeoplesmarch.com, as well as the conference, which will be taking place at the West Indian Ex-Servicemen Center. This conference will be, if I'm correct, the time of this conference on November 4th will be from 5 to 8 p.m. London time. So if you are in London and you go to the rally, you'll come back later on for this conference taking place later on in the evening. So more information will be added around the London, but we just want to really salute those who are helping to build the London Black People's March, comrades. So next up, we're going to show a quick video. This is really important because, a lot of the struggle that we are discussing around colonialism is concentrated on the continent itself. And our comrades who are leading the Hands Off Uhuru campaign and just who have been leaders in this revolutionary struggle are young, fierce comrades. And I just want to give an introduction here to what you can see here on the screen, comrades Tafari, Asa, and Tatu, who are going to make the call for November 4th in Pretoria. Uhuru.
Uhuru comrades, I am Tafari Mugeri and I'm out here in Kokosi, Forgeville, in occupied Azania, settler colony, South Africa. I'm with Asa and crew and Tato Karedi. We just came back from an outreach and we are calling on people to come to the November 4th mobilization at the US Embassy in Pretoria. So what's happening is that we're going to go to be telling the US government imperialism that they should get their hands off our chairman Omali Eshitela, as well as the comrades in the solidarity movement, Comrade Penny Hess and Comrade Jesse Neville. So we are in solidarity, but not just in solidarity, unity, because we understand that this is one struggle. They attack us in the US, they attack us here in South Africa, they attack us in Congo, everywhere. That's why we're saying touch one, touch all. So what's going to be happening is that we're going to be having comrades traveling from here in Forgeville, but not only in Forgeville, the flyer is out and we're inviting everyone, people from all over, to go to Pretoria on the 4th of November. We're doing this because as African people, we recognize that wherever we are in the world, we are colonized. We are colonized, we live under colonial domination. As we can see, this is a township. African people did not create townships. Townships were created by the colonizers. They did this because they required us for cheap labor. They did this because they had to maintain the colonial mode of production, which was born from the capture of African bodies and turning us into slaves, into like unpaid labor, and also in order for them to loot our resources. Africa is the richest continent in the world, but then if you look at the conditions of African people, we live under extreme poverty. Like Chairman Omali Eshitela said, Africa is not poor, Africa is being looted. We don't have self-determination right now because obviously we don't control the means of production. We don't control the mines. This is a mining area that we live in here in Forgeville. It actually has the deepest mine in the world, right here, just a few kilometers from where we are standing right now. But then the people here live in poverty. The people here don't have access to their resources. So we say we want to put an end to that, and that's what Chairman Omali Eshitela has been doing for the last 50 plus years. So we're saying that hands off Chairman Omali Eshitela, hands off the free speech. African people have a right to articulate our own experience in the world. We have a right to organize for self-determination, and that's what we're doing in occupied Azania. That's what we're going to be doing on the 4th of November in Pretoria at the US Embassy. Uhuru. One Africa, one nation, touch one, Chacho, izwe lethu iAfrika uhuru.
Uhuru. Yeah. Just really want to salute our comrades on the ground in Fochville, and yeah, this is why we're doing this, comrades. I just wanted to really appreciate, and I know they're not able to be on our calls as often because of some of the timeframes, but please also on Thursdays you can tune in to hear from the Africa front of the Hands Off Uhuru Fightback Coalition. So check our events page out to hear more from Tafari Mugedi, from ASA, from Visto. We have a really dynamic group of comrades on the ground taking all these issues out with the theory of African internationalism and making the charges to drop the charges on the Uhuru 3. So this is what you'll learn more about if you're going to the Fight Back in Pretoria as well. So comrades, we want to call on everybody to build the Black People's March. We want to make sure that you have information about the buses and transportation. So Comrade Akinge is going to come up with me one more time to walk us through this, because we want to let people know that the Get on the Bus campaign has been a great success, and we're going to build this, and we want people to know how easy it is to get on the bus or to bring a bus of your own. So I know Akinge is having some issues with their camera, so I'll wait till I hear your voice, Comrade.
I'm not going to try the camera, but we can certainly, if we can go to the transportation. Yes. There is, and just to say that this is the 15th annual Black People's March on the White House, and I'm just glad that I've been at every one, and I'm going to make this one again this year, and you should too. If you can go to the blackpeoplesmarch.com, you will see that we have numerous areas, parts of the world where you can get on a bus, get in a car, get in a van. In Chicago, for example, it costs you $110 round trip. Again, this does not include the cost of an overnight stay, but you can call the organizers. They're getting a room share program together for everyone. Call 240-979-2670 and get in on the bus, get in the van, get in the car, get a ride from Chicago, Illinois to Washington, D.C. And if you're in Newark, New Jersey, or if you're in New York, they've got a bus coming out of there, which is going to be leaving on Saturday from Brooklyn. You can see all the stops there that it's going to make. The cost is $65 round trip. This will not be an overnight stay. It's going to be a turnaround. You can dial or text 215-360-3227, or you can email apspnorthernregion@gmail.com to find out how it is you can get on the bus to make the trip from Newark or New Jersey. If you're in Philadelphia, close to Philadelphia, they've got a bus leaving there on Saturday morning, November 4th. Again, this is not an overnight, it's a turnaround. It'll cost you $60. You can call 260-875-3532. And I see that they are putting in the chat also too, that there is a tiny URL for each of these areas where you can go ahead and click that link and tell them I want to get a seat on the bus. There's ways that you can pay. If you're in St. Louis, Missouri, anywhere near St. Louis, Missouri, there's going to be vans, cars, vans leaving from St. Louis on Friday the 3rd, returning on Sunday. The cost is $200 round trip, which does not include an overnight stay, but there's a room share program available, so you can share a room with somebody. To cut the cost, you can call 314-919-5733, reserve your spot, get in the van, get linked up with a roommate. And also St. Petersburg, Florida. They're leaving on Friday, November the 3rd, 5 p.m. They'll be returning on Sunday. Looks like it says November 5th. It's $200 a ticket. You can bring cash to 1245 18th Avenue South in St. Petersburg, Florida. You can cash out them and the cash app address is there. Or you can make a check out to APSP Southern Region. You can also call 727-914-3617 or email south@apspuhuru.org get on the bus. We literally have people coming from all over North America, so there's no reason why someone should not be able to find a way to get to Washington, D.C. You'll also see that there is a get on the bus form right here on the website. Fill that out. Let us know where it is you want to come from, or let us know if you've got a bus. You got a bus, you want to bring people out of your area, fill out that form, tell us where you're coming from, and we'll get everyone that we can, everyone that wants to be there, that should be there, will get to Washington, D.C. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Thank you, Comrade Akinge. So that's very, very detailed information. I think it's really important that as we get down closer and closer to this event, we want people to know all the details. So again, you can find that at blackpeoplesmarch.com/transportation. And just want to, again, also let people know that we are calling on you to, again, put it in the chat. If you're saying, if you told us that you're coming, but you're bringing somebody else, let us know in the chat right now that you will be there. And I just want to acknowledge, take a quick moment to, tell people, yes, register, go to blackpeoplesmarch.com and go ahead and register today. You can also see the list of speakers, and the list is growing because we are happening, in various locations. So we want people to also, go there and check out the information about who you will hear from at this year's March. I want to really appreciate our Zoom tech, who is just always on top of it and helping us to just get a visual of what's happening. So we'll just let that scroll through as I want to acknowledge some of the other speakers that we're going to be adding to this list. And that can stay up, as I just want to read a statement also from Jennifer Jones, who is one of the members and, helping with the Leonard Peltier Ad Hoc Committee, and who serves as the director of litigation and strategy and advocacy for this particular campaign to free Leonard Peltier. And I want to appreciate Jennifer, who was unable to make this presentation during this brief amount of time tonight, but wanted to provide a statement about their participation in this year's March, and to give us an update on Leonard Peltier's case. As we know, they are also members of the Hands Off Uhuru Fightback Coalition. So salute to our speakers, and I'm going to go ahead and read this statement. So the official Leonard Peltier Ad Hoc Committee is both honored and excited to join the Black is Back Coalition on November 4th, 2023. We stand with the Uhuru movement in calling out and disrupting the colonial system, and we wholeheartedly affirm the principles of unity. Leonard still experiences extreme lockdowns at the maximum security, unsanitary USP Coleman 1. Notwithstanding the unjustness of his extradition and conviction, his incarceration is no better and is dire. Now at 79 years old, Leonard Peltier suffers from several physical illnesses, and this is why we must continue to advocate for his clemency and compassionate release. Just last week in Geneva at the United Nations, our call was clear to the US delegation: Leonard must be free. We turn our backs to the human rights violations in the US and those who enable it. We raise our fist in solidarity with you. Hands off the Uhuru 3, free Leonard Peltier, and all political prisoners, and not one single solitary step back. See you on November 4th, Uhuru. So I just want to salute and appreciate that the official Leonard Peltier Ad Hoc Committee for that statement, and we look forward to seeing you on November 4th. And I know there are a list of other organizations that will be joining us as well, and we don't have time to go through all of those because we know we will see you. Oh,
yeah. I just wanted to advise there. I know we're getting short on time, but just to say to people that there's no reason why somebody can't find a way or get to Washington, D.C., get to Los Angeles, etc. And if you can't do that, you can support the coalition. Go to blackisbackcoalition.org/donate. Go to the blackpeoplesmarch.com/donate. That can help someone else to get there. So let's make this happen. It will happen. We're going to Washington, D.C., and we're taking everyone that wants to go with us. So Uhuru.
Uhuru Akinge, I want to appreciate you. I'm self-critical. We wanted to make that that call earlier when the website was up, that help support this march, help support somebody get there. We have this rule called No Comrade Left Behind. Help somebody get there who needs to get there. blackpeoplesmarch.com/donate or blackisbackcoalition.org/donate take you to the same place to make that donation. And if those of you who are on Zoom, there's an awesome graphic that's in the chat. Vice Chair Lisa Davis put for Newark, Brooklyn to get on the bus. And we'll make sure that we get this up on the website, comrade, because this is a great, a really great graphic, and we want people to know how to get on the bus. So I'm going to turn it over to myself, I guess, for the announcements and just to kind of take us through. I want to encourage everybody to go to handsoffuhuru.org/events to continue to find more information about the upcoming events that are happening. Again, start to mobilize for the October 29th Anti-Colonial, a global day of anti-colonial action to call on for victory to all peoples, Palestinian, Indigenous, African people, all colonized people fighting for the liberation of their people. And again, our chat moderators are putting information in the chat. And I just want to say, Chairman, if you have any closing words, we are at the end of our program. And if not, you know, I think the people have what they need to make this happen. So, Uhuru. So comrades, I want to salute everybody for coming on tonight's program. And we will see you on November 4th. We will see you on October 29th. And hands off Uhuru, hands off Africa. All power to the people, Black power to the African nation. Free, free Palestine. We are our own liberators. Uhuru.
Free, free Palestine. Forward to November 4th.
Forward to November 4th. Now one step backwards.
Not one step backwards.
Uhuru.